And here we are, live. How's it going, people? And well, how about that? Tonight, I kind of hit the go live button at 6:59 and it just went straight in. But I am upstairs. So I might grab the computer in a second once I quench my thirst and head on down to the man cave. Hi, 6th Street Garage here. Earl Britt, good to have you along, buddy. Charles Dalton. Matthew, hey man. Big Bob, I'm going to pop in later. Need to try and start my car. Well, that's fair. That's reasonable. Unfinished project. Learn to read. And we got Phil Buckley. Looks like a little Australia. What is that? An Australia flag with a 4-leaf clover. What's that about? Irish Australia? Orlando Pockets. I heard a rumor Kiwi sold his Mopar and brought an MG. No, not sure where you heard that. Paul Funk, good evening. 74 here today in Colorado. Yeah, it's been chilly today here. Not sure what the high was actually, but it wasn't all that warm. I kept the door shut most of the day. Put it that way. Granddad's Junk, hey man, welcome along. Nathan McCree, wow, it's a bunch of you guys in here already. That's awesome. Rick Weatherby, welcome along. Phil Buckley. Yep. Andy Nickel, how are you, mate? Good to have you here. Frank D, what kind of Mopar do you have? Well, I've got a 59 Plymouth station wagon. That's a Mopar. I do have a rolling shell of a 67 Barracuda with all the parts scattered around here and there to actually make it a car if I ever get time. Orlando Pockets just yanking your chain. There you go. Phil Buckley, love Marge's pipes. Well, thanks, man. Yeah, I was pretty happy with the way that came out. Driveway of Misfits is in the house. Awesome. All right, I'm going to grab this laptop and head off downstairs so I don't drive dear old Mrs. Kiwi insane. So stand by for a little down the stairs trip. And, yeah, we'll see how we go. Josh Homan, hey man. Try not to fall down the stairs. Just carrying my bourbon and my laptop. I'd be more worried about the bourbon than the laptop, but hey, that's just me. All right. Okay. Ooh, it's a little dark in here. So I'm just doing this move because it doesn't seem to like connecting when I'm down here. Whoop, did not do that. All right, let me stay with me, guys. I know this is a little unorthodox, but hey, you got to do what you got to do. And get plugged into mains because the laptop battery won't last 2 hours. Hopefully you can still hear me, even if you can't see me, but I am here. I promise. Okay, here we go. Right, things are back to normal. Now, where do we get up to here? JR, question, how easy is it to get parts for classic vehicles now? Man, I'd have to say it's probably easier than it's ever been. The aftermarket is just going from strength to strength. More companies producing more products. From nice original looking, reproduction stuff to hot rod stuff to you name it, man. You can, someone's making it somewhere. So yes, it's pretty easy to get. I mean, if you've got, something that's really outside the norms, like, so you got a 57 Mercury Turnpike Cruiser, you're going to have trouble getting panels for that. You're going to have trouble getting most parts for that. So there's some classic cars that are hard to get parts for. But for the most part, it's the market's pretty well served, I'd have to say. So, JR, what are you thinking about getting, or what car have you in mind when you ask that question? Driveway of Misfits. Snowed all morning here, really? Where are you, Chris? Why did I think you were in California? That can't be right. Um, Granny's junk would have thought winter was over for you. Well, it kind of is, really. We've been having some pretty wicked rain and tornado watches and stuff like that, but it's not really been cold. Driveway of Misfits. Granddad's junk. We're not safe until the end of April. Oh, there you go. Kiwi, have you ever heard of a car dealer in Franklin called Sunvertibles? Yes, I have. He tends to be more later model stuff, though. So I've kind of driven past his yard. You can see him from the interstate. And I've driven past a number of times. I've never been there. You're looking at buying something from him, though. Granny's junk. I hate the snow, way too cold. My old man always used to say the only decent place for snow is on a Christmas card. Like, okay. JR, an old movie truck. Okay. What sort of truck and what was the movie, man? Right, Driveway of Misfits, Rochester, New York. Well, I was a wee way off, wasn't I? Kind of diagonally, miles away. Oh well. Wildman 318. I'm checking in at number 11. Okay. Yes, you are indeed. Driveway of Misfits, not looking to buy but look around nonetheless. Yeah. Okay. What sort of stuff are you looking for, buddy? JR, Armored Truck Quiz Show. Okay. That sounds very different, but yeah, you might have trouble getting parts for an old armored truck. Yeah. Drive Chris Freemess are only 4,000 miles off. Oh, well, what can you do? Foreigners, what you going to do? Steve Sadusky. Hey, man, how you doing? Good to have you here. Josh Homan. I like snow, but also like my warmth. Yeah. One thing I do, I struggle with that. I don't know if it's because as I get older, but I really struggle with the heat. I don't handle these 95, 100-degree days very well. It's just too hot. You used to be able to deal with it a bit better when I was younger, but struggle with it now. And one thing about being cold, you can always warm up. You just put more and more clothes on and turn the heater up. But when it's hot out, you can only take so many clothes off before they kind of throw you in the back of a cop car and take you away. Andy Nickel. I live in a damn Christmas card. Oh, dear. That's no good, mate. Oh, Fiat 500s. They seem to have 3 in stock right now. Huh. Okay. I'm assuming that's the later model ones you're looking at. They wouldn't have three of the original oldies, would they? Barry Cooter, hey man, welcome along. Good to see you here. I've just noticed that water goes clockwise down the drain here at my place at least. Oh God, here we go again. People are quite fascinated with the direction of drains and toilets. Quite amazing. Granddad's junk. For you Ford fans, I took my wife's 54 Custom line over to Ambury getting a couple of things done. She won't let me touch it. Get things done. She won't let me touch it. Getting it on the road. Oh, good for you, man. Wildman Kiwi. What is in that glass you're sipping on? That is an old-fashioned with Gentleman Jack and some Woodford Reserve cherries in there. And, a little bit of a little dash of orange liqueur. And, very nice. Snow Crusher, did someone say snow? Yes, they did. It belongs on a Christmas card. Chris Freemasser, later model 500s. Wife has a turbo 500 5-speed. It's a blast to drive. They are neat little cars. They really are. Kathleen Mitchell, hi Kiwi. What are your thoughts on return fuel lines when needed or not, and why? Return fuel lines, yeah. Okay, there's kind of two schools of thought on that. For me, I'm quite happy to have a return line. I don't think it's a bad idea at all. It keeps the fuel moving around. Um, a lot of the GM products had a return line at the pump, and I don't think that's quite as good. If you have an actual fuel pressure regulator, even if it's carburetor, that has a return line on it, then basically you take any fuel that's not being used up by the carb, comes up past the engine, goes through the pump. That's where it gains most of its heat, is between the pump and the carburetor. So yeah, that gets bypassed and back to the tank. So you're getting a fairly good supply of cool fuel, which I think is a good idea, and it certainly takes the pressure off your a lot of a lot of needle and seats will leak a little bit, depending, especially if you're up there on the pressure, because a lot of factory pumps are putting out 6 to 7, and a lot of carburetors don't really want much more than 6, and they'll get by with a little bit more, but you're kind of pushing your luck at times. So yeah, I think a return line's really not a bad idea, but you do need I think you need to do it like up at the firewall, like as close to the carburetor as you can get. Have your return line, and you need a pressure regulator that actually has a return line feature. Michael Sana, Kiwi. Oh, good choice. What, on the bourbon? Cheers. Michael Sana, no Bundy, mate. I've not actually seen Bundaberg rum in a long time. But I did used to drink it like a few decades back. But right, driveway is misfit. So does a return line help prevent vapor lock? Yes, it does. It does, because it keeps the fuel circulating. It's not sort of sitting there waiting to be allowed into the carburetor, particularly if you're just idling or cruising real slow. The fuel spends a bit of time going from your mechanical pump through to the needle and seat. So there's got plenty of time to soak up heat. So if you're letting it go back to the tank and mix in with your 10, 15 gallons of cool fuel that's in the tank, it's a better idea. Pop's Mustang Shop, welcome along, bud. Any idea to help fix a stuck hydraulic lifter on a 68 Mustang 302 V8? Just started tapping one morning when warming up to go to a cruising. You think it's stuck or just worn out? So does it sort of go? Does the tapping go away when it's warmed right up? Earl Britt, Mr. Britt, happy Tuesday, Kiwi. Hope all is well. 54 Chevy Bel Air here. Thoughts on master brake cylinder replacement under the driver's panel versus dual bowl master relocation to the firewall? I'm pretty sure that there's somebody out there doing a dual bowl master that will go under the floor, as instead of the old that old through the floor setup. But yeah, I think you can replace that with a dual bowl. Doing it relocation up to the firewall is a fairly big job. You've got to kind of create a pedal box or buy a pedal box. Something that will hold the actual the brake pedal pivot, because obviously stock the pedal comes up through the floor back towards you, and to put it on the firewall, it's not just a matter of bolting the master cylinder to the firewall. You've got to have some pedals that will connect, pivot under the dash and then connect through to your master cylinder. So it's more work to put it up on the firewall. It does have its advantages. Master cylinders below the level of the brakes, you can have bleed back or run back of the fluid towards the master cylinder when your calipers or wheel cylinders are actually higher than your master cylinder. So there's a little bit of swings and roundabouts. Now I haven't had a chance to see that car yet, Earl, but I'd be thinking I'd look for, my first reaction would be to look for a dual bowl master installation that goes under the floor, and you keep the pedals the way they were meant to be, and you also get the dual bowl master. So I've seen them. I can't tell you a name of who makes them. Google it, mate. It'll pop up, and there's probably actually 4 or 5 different companies making them in reality. Michael Sana, enjoying a company right now made right here in Thompson Station. A company. Not sure what you mean, but Barracuda, Kiwi, do you remember motoring with Robbie on the radio on Saturday mornings in the 70s? Ooh, 70s. That's a while ago, isn't it? I remember a radio show that my dad would listen to on the weekend mornings. It was either a Saturday or a Sunday, but that was a lot of people ringing in, getting valuations on their car. They'd say, "I've got a 1967 Morris something, and what is it worth?" And there was a guy or two would be on this particular show saying that, and giving a value on them. It might be an old 67 Holden or a 69 Ford Falcon or something like that, and that people would be getting valuations on them. I'm not sure whether that's the same show or not. Michael Sana, Bourbon. Oh, okay, right. So spell checked, you did it. Victor Souza, good night, sir. Are you leaving us, Victor? Or are you saying hello? I'm not sure. I didn't see you before now. Earlbert, excellent feedback. Thank you. Hey, you're welcome, man. Max level. Good evening, Kiwi. Lowest gas price in Boston, $2.79 a gallon this week. I put an insulation sleeve over my fuel line instead of a fuel return for my slant 6, and it cured my vapor lock. Yeah, there's more than one way to skin a cat. That definitely helps, and it goes. So an insulation sleeve, you put an insulation sleeve over your fuel line. Where did you put that insulation? Was that like between the mechanical pump and the carburetor, or did you run it further back? Just curious about that. Matthew, seriously behind in the likes. Oh, well, yeah, what have we got? 21 likes, and there's 32 people in the room. So, yeah. Click that like button. It would, I would appreciate it. It helps boost the show. It helps boost the numbers. It's all to do with YouTube's infamous algorithm. So, hit that like. I'd appreciate it. Steve Sadusky, that radio show was called Click and Clack. Okay. Wow, I would not have known that. That's a memory I've got, like from my early teens. So, yeah. Super Zoo Panda. Okay. You retracted your message. Oh, try it again, bud. Good to have you here either way. Steve Sadusky, they were brothers. Okay. Click and Clack. Barracuda, Robbie offered advice to callers about mechanical problems. Maybe it was just on Dunedin radio. Maybe I just didn't catch it, mate. I don't know. Max level, I ran the sleeve over the engine leading to the filter. Yeah. Yep. That's where they get the most heat, is right around that engine block. Remember, your engine block is running around 180 degrees. If it's not running overly hot, it can be 200 degrees. So the fuel doesn't have to sit in that fuel line for very long to get some heat soak. Steve Sadusky, they would tell jokes too. I listen to them every week. Smart guys. I know my dad used to always, and he didn't listen to much on the radio, but he did listen to those guys. Mind you, at the time, if my memory serves me, he was selling cars around that era. He was a used car salesman at a Chrysler franchise. It was actually it was called Todd. Was it Todd Motors? No, it was called Auckland Motors, and they sold Todd Motors was like the importer of Hillmans and a lot of those English Chrysler type stuff. Yeah, Hillman Hunters. What else did they sell? That Hillman, Chrysler stuff from England, and obviously the Valiants and stuff as well. Matthew, my computer says 0. Oh, I'm showing 29 likes, but so stupid computer. Direct Deberjack, 2 gallons of gas for a dozen eggs is a good deal. Wow. Yeah, there you go. Makes you think, doesn't it? Yeah, I filled up the weekend and I was down south, about an hour south, and way down below Columbia, and picking up a front suspension for the F100 truck. I picked up. I've actually got it in the truck, in my other truck at work now. The Crown Vic front suspension to go in the old blue F100. So that's a happening thing sometime. Man, I got so much work at work, and I'm so far behind. It's not funny. I actually, just like this week, I've started telling people, like, I'm not even taking. I was booking people out 3-4 months ahead. The problem is 3-4 months comes around, and then it's like, oh. So now the official word is like, ring me in 3 months, and I'll see how I'm doing. I'll see if I'm ready to start taking any bookings 3 months ahead from that. So like at least 6 months. Yeah. Now, where do we get up to here? Wild man, I'll have to try that kind of an old-fashioned drink mix. Yeah, you should. It's really good. Very drinkable. You can get a little bit shit-faced pretty quickly. Yeah. That's why I sip it really slow. I mean, I'll make a glass last 2 hours. So, yeah. Michael Sana, direct, get backyard chicken, 6 girls, we get 5 eggs a day. There you go. Yeah, that's a fairly cheap way to do it. Josh Homan, I heard that Todd Motors built cars from kits sourced from overseas. Yeah, they were called CKDs, which stood an acronym for completely knocked down. So yeah, they would import basically like a giant monogram kit, in full scale rather than 1/24th, and put them together, and they were assembled in New Zealand. Barracuda, and in the 70s, Denny Holm presented a car show on TV. Man, I didn't even know that. I don't, whether I've just forgotten that or I never saw it. I'm not too sure. I didn't realise that. That would have been good. Cogboy 302, good evening from the UK. Oh, hey, man, how you doing? It's 1:22 hours. That's 1:22 a.m. Wow. That's early in the morning. You're either having a really late night or a really early morning, one of the two. I'm not sure. Have to admire your mechanical and bodywork skills and your honesty when dealing with customers and telling them the work that needs to be done on a car. Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, that's just how I roll, I guess. I just tell them what needs to be done, and hopefully they'll do it. I am compared to some stateside, I'm probably lean a little bit more to the safety side of things than some places, but that's my Kiwi background. That's just the motoring world's quite different in New Zealand than it is here. I wouldn't like to be doing regular mechanical repairs on everyday road cars here, because people don't really want to spend money on their regular daily drivers, their 10, 15-year-old daily drivers. And they just tend to drive them until they don't go anymore, or something fails. It's but yeah, at least with the old stuff, most customers I've had are pretty receptive to making their cars right, and they know it's going to cost them some money. They they will just get the work done, which keeps them safe and keeps them on the road. Michael Sana, just back from 3 weeks in Portugal. Oh, very nice, very nice. If my math is right, close to $8 a gallon. Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds right. Now I started to say, I was. I filled up last weekend and it was $2.39 a gallon. That was kind of down Lewisburg way, in Pulaski, Pulaski way. And those of you who don't know, Pulaski, which is about an hour and a quarter away from here, was the birthplace of the KKK. That's where it first started. Not sure that every little town wants to be famous for that, but that's one of their claims to fame. Infamy probably really would be more accurate. Charles Dalton, it's easily understandable, but I'm also glad your business is doing well. Yeah, it's man, I wish I had another 2 or 3 Steves working with me, because we could actually get through some cars then. It would be cool. Barracuda, Todd Motors also owned Europa Oil. I remember Europa Oil. Wonder what happened to them. They probably got swallowed up by one of the bigger companies, right? Unless it's still going in New Zealand, but. Super Zoo Panda. I miss the videos going over rip-off cars. I've given up looking at classic cars because of the nice paint job, great interior garbage. Need more exposure to fraud. It's you're not the first person to say that. I need to do more of those videos, but you can't create those videos. I need those cars coming through the store, through the shop, to make those videos on them. And honestly, I just haven't had that issue for a little while. Now, why maybe that's just luck, bad luck, good luck. I don't know what you want to call it. But I just don't seem to have seen those horror stories. Like, we had a real run of them for a couple of years. Just like once a month, there was some just nightmare. And that seems to have kind of died down. And I don't know, I guess I'd like to think maybe people are trying a little bit harder. People are, because of the exposure those rip-off cars have had, maybe it's made some people think a little harder about what they sell. That might be, overly optimistic. I don't know, but I don't have another explanation for the way those rip-off cars have dried up. Honestly, I don't. I don't. Jeff R, g'day Kiwi. Microsoft wants me to update my laptop from Windows 10 to 11. What does that mean? You're asking me? Driveway of Misfits might be able to tell you. But Windows 10 to 11, that's pretty old, isn't it? What are they? I thought they were up to higher numbers than that now. Typically, my experience, whenever they want to update, it just means they move the buttons around. They put, everything where you used to know where it was, and it's now someplace else, doing something slightly different, but not really much different. They just seem to want to give it seems to me anyway, and I'm a bit bar humbug when it comes to computers, but it seems like they just spin stuff around, move it around. It's the same shit, just different place. And it's the same on your phone. Like I always don't. I leave it to the last possible minute to update my phone, because whenever they update my phone, stuff moves, and like I go to find it and it's not there, and I've got to figure out where it's gone, and it's like, why don't they just leave it alone? But yeah, I'm slipping, day by day into that grumpy old man mode when it comes to computers and phones. But I try not to, but it's frustrating sometimes. Driveway of Misfits just filled up yesterday, $3.23 a gallon for premium. That's pretty good. God bless Costco. And you get 3% back as well. Just a little plug for Costco there. Beagle Bob, maybe another day. Okay. Granddad's Junk, I have a Europa petrol tin. Wow. Matthew, do used car dealers have sleazy reputations down under like they do here? Yeah. Unfortunately, it goes with the territory. It's not to say all used car salesmen are crooks, but there is a reasonable number that are crooks. Yeah, it just goes with the territory. To be fair, though, like I was saying, my old man used to sell used cars, and something he would point out was that like if you get caught doing something less than above board, with a used car as a company or a salesman, you get vilified for it. Not saying that shouldn't be that way, probably should. But the public come in and, they'll trade in their car knowing that there's something wrong with it. They'll back in the day, they'd bring the car in, they'd give them a price on it. A couple of days later, they'd come back in to swap cars and pay the money and stuff like that. And the stereo would be gone, or there'd be a different set of tires on it or something like that. The public have a mindset where it's okay to rip off the used car yard because they're a used car yard. And it's not always, that's not always fair play. So the public also have a reputation for being a little unscrupulous when it comes to their used cars as well. Driveway of Misfits, there you go. You need to do that before October to keep your computer secure. There you go. That's why you need to, Jeff. Andy Nickel, got to go for groceries. Good grief. Not alcohol. Well, I mean, we'd give you a hall pass to go out for alcohol, but groceries? Come on. John Oskowski, hey, mate, how you doing? I'm doing good. Hope you are too. So, yeah. Driveway of Misfits, pick me up some Oreos. I'll pay you back later. Radio. Yeah, some Oreos would go down quite well, wouldn't they? No, they don't really go with an old-fashioned, but I'd make it work. EJ, $2.97 New Zealand dollars per litre here, equates to $6.17 US per gallon. She's tough down here at the bottom of the world. $2.97, how did... No, okay, because of the exchange rate, right. Yeah, because that's like around figures 4 litres per gallon. That's more like $12. But yeah, the exchange rate's pretty brutal at the moment. I wish I had a bit of American dollars to send back to New Zealand, but I don't. Barracuda in the 60s Valiants, there was a tag in the engine bay telling you to use Europa oil only. Wow. I didn't know that. Huh. Michael Sana, Kiwi, was $1.70 a litre. Yeah. And that's a bigger, it's $1.70 a litre. Yeah, the European gallon's different to the American gallon. 3.8 litres per gallon here. Granddad's junk hasn't been going for decades. No, I kind of figured as much. Cogboy 302. Gee, oh, no problem, man. The Lower Man's Vintage Garage. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Just got in the garage from working on the 1960 Thunderbird. Nice. Quite like those Thunderbirds. There was a nickname for those. What was it? It wasn't the Square Bird. It was the... what did they call them? Gone blank. There was a name for them, wasn't there? Working on the worn-out column shifter. Has it got the swing-away steering? Is it one of those with the swing-away? They can be, tricky. Driveway of Misfits. No joke. The two classics I bought from YouTubers who did videos of fixing them. Okay. Huh. That's very cool. EJ, update it to 11. Microsoft is killing security support end of 25. Right. Right. Chris Dalton saying the same thing. Upgrade to Windows 11 before October 25. I'll have to check and see what my system's on. I don't honestly know. I was thinking they were up high numbers in that. Clearly I'm wrong. Again. EJ, although in saying that I'm not. Okay. Jeff R., I've pressed the update button. Might be the end of watching this YouTube live. Oh, well, hopefully not, mate. JR, 1980 movie, Used Cars comedy. I remember that movie. I remember watching that. Yeah, there was that was funny, and there was some truth to what they were up to. There was some truth to it. Captain Desmo, the captain is in the house. Yeah, well, welcome along, buddy. Good to have you here. Chris Triumph, hello, Kiwi. I've worked restoring cars and motorcycles for 40 years, but being Canadian, I can't work in the USA. Yeah, I was lucky enough to be able to get myself a green card. So, yeah. JR, I watch it every once in a while to remind me of dealers. Yeah. Alan Trimble, JFC 297 a litre, 87 octane. Is US 267 a gallon. Okay. Yeah, good to have you here, Alan. You're not that late. We're only 40 minutes in, so you're good. Lower Man's Vintage Garage. Oh, the 60 was a Square Bird. Okay. All right. I was thinking, I thought the Square Birds were the 58s, 59s, and then that went to that kind of pointed nose that they had in 60 or 61. I thought they had a name for those, but I'm not a Thunderbird expert, and you own one, so you're going to know more about it than me. Granddad's junk. I like the good old trick wrapping the diff in pink bats to silence the whining diff. I've never heard of that before. Wrapping it in pink bats. Oh, good Lord. And just hope nobody looks underneath. I've heard of people putting banana skins in the transmissions and diff and stuff like that to try and make them quieter. I really have no idea why banana skins, but I remember hearing that story as a teenager. So could just be urban myth. I don't really know. But I've not heard of putting pink bats around a winding diff. Wow. Lower Man's Vintage Garage. No, just worn out. Shift detent. Okay, shift column and shift lever. Okay. Still, not the most fun job. Captain Desmo. Great to be here. Great to be anywhere, really. Well, above the ground is good, isn't it, right? Any day above ground is a good day. 60 was still the square bird. Okay, so I'm thinking of the 61 maybe. Stray Bullet, do you know what the first SUV assembled in New Zealand was? First SUV, is it like the Trekker? Are you calling a Trekker an SUV? Other than the Trekker, what would have been the first SUV? I don't know. If it wasn't the Trekker, I don't know. Snow Crusher, 61 to 63 were the bullet birds. That's the word I'm thinking of, bullet. Yeah, square birds and bullet birds. Yep, pointy nose bullet birds started in 61. Yeah, there you go. I was 1 year off. Okay, well, close. Paul Funk, was Michael Keaton in Used Cars? Michael Keaton. I don't remember him in Used Cars, but it's been a long time since I've seen that movie. It's been a long time. I'd actually forgotten it even existed until you mentioned the name. It's like, oh, I remember that. I have to see if it's on YouTube and have a look. Could be worth for a bit of a giggle. Stray Bullet, is it required that they be pink? Absolutely. Yeah, it's got to be pink. They're like 10 decibels quieter than the other colour. Absolutely. Alan Trimble, the shady US dealers used to put sawdust in the manual transmissions and rear diffs to quieten the whine. Crazy, isn't it? Steve Sadusky, what are you working on now, Kiwi? Today, I've been working on, we've got that white GTO. We got the brakes, finally got brakes in that, like all the master cylinder and everything in and done. So we've got a brake pedal now so we can drive it. And dropped it off at the muffler shop. We're getting some mufflers and tailpipes on it down there. And also been working on the 392 Hemi powered F100. So the transmission's all in, mounted, drive shaft ordered, which will be about a week to get that made. And so hopefully in the fairly near future we'll be do a test drive on it. I've got while we're waiting on the drive shaft, I've got to connect a bunch of electrical up, neutral safety switch, reverse lights, that kind of thing, put the shifter in it, build an exhaust system for it. And so that's kind of the latest thing. We've also got a 69 Pontiac Bonneville in there. We'll be doing a few little bits and pieces too. Nothing major on that one, just make sure it's in good running order. So we've been doing a little bit of brake work on that and some little tuning issues and a few electrical issues, stuff like that. But yeah, that's a behemoth of a car. So we'll have a video of that coming out soon. Watch this space. There'll be some more to come. Chris Triumph, we called those T-birds from those years the bullet birds. Yeah. Stray Bullet, the Skoda Trekker. Yeah, I got it right. The Trekker. Yep. Skoda in the back and a disaster in the front. I saw a photo of a Trekker in a museum somewhere in New Zealand, down South Island, I think. I think they called that was one of the few cars that were actually built in New Zealand, because that was like a New Zealand only model, I think, the Trekker, if I'm not mistaken. Captain Desmo, I got a 41 to 46 Chevy steering box, hardly used with original grease packing, fully disassembled and cleaned up, and now it's unreal smooth. Nice. Well done. That would have been pretty hard old grease, I would imagine. Jeff R., I've heard the banana diff idea. Has anyone ever tried it or found evidence in a diff housing? Actually, no. Not me. I don't know whether anyone else has. But I only ever heard it talked about. Never did it. And, never saw any evidence of it, actually. So, yeah, maybe it was urban myth. I don't know. The Lower Man's Vintage Garage. By the way, Thinder heard this week and sold a 73 Spitfire. The kid that bought it took off like a champ, even though he couldn't drive a manual. Oh no. Well, I guess he's going to learn, isn't he? Matthew, there's a good episode of the Andy Griffith Show. Barney buys an old Ford from an old lady. Very realistic. Yeah, very cool. Paul Funk. Oh, yeah, I remember the movie. What was it? No, sorry, Paul Funk. Oh, yeah, I remember the movie Gung Ho. There you go. Alan Trimble, Kurt Russell starred in used cars. He did. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I think I remember that. Kurt Russell, Jack Warden. Steve Sadusky, reminding everyone to give me likes. That's cool. Thank you, sir. You hit that like button. It all helps. Beagle Bob, I think the people don't feel bad giving dealers heaps of crap is because the dealer really should know better. They should have mechanics and know what to look for. Oh, yeah. I mean, there's two sides to it, isn't there? There's enough bad dealers around to give them a bad reputation. I guess because my old man sold used cars, I like to think that there's always a few of them that were honest, so straight bullet. That old lady was actually a car thief. Oh my god! In the Andy Griffith Show. Good grief. Chris Triumph, Kiwi, my icebreaker is broken. Well, that's a problem, isn't it? That is a problem. You need to get onto that, or at least get down the grocery store and buy some bags of ice. Got to have ice, man. Chris Triumph had to buy a bag of ice at the store. There you go. Advice taken. Well done. Matthew, that's right. Ellen Corby, also known as Grandma Walton. Oh, really? Wow. So okay. That's kind of cool. Driveway of misfits. If you can't find them, grind them. I just remember hearing one guy say, "Mate, it's in there somewhere. Just keep looking." Barracuda, also made in New Zealand in the 70s, was the Nat 3-wheeler farm vehicle. Oh, I remember that. Yeah, that had the steering had like a big bar, like a handlebar that came back, like a big long, like a tiller almost. And you steered like that, didn't you? Like it was a long arm that came back from the front single wheel, and you moved it about 3 feet from side to side to steer it. I remember that. Wow. That's crazy. Snow crusher, sawdust oil in the diff to quieten it down before selling. Yeah, that's pretty brutal to be doing that and it's not all car dealers that were guilty of doing that. I'm sure car dealers did do that, but it wasn't only car dealers. But yeah, that's yes, buyer beware, I guess. Rick Weatherby, Kiwi, I have an 07 Shelby GT500 with 25,000 miles on it. I'm getting an excessive amount of brake dust on the wheels, even with mild driving. Could this be from the pads being old? Your thoughts? Is this a fairly new development? Because 25,000 miles, it should really have its original pads in, unless you've been pretty hard on them. But I'm going to assume it's an 07. That's 18 years old. 25,000. The car hasn't done a lot of work. Yeah, maybe if that's original pads, maybe you're getting to a part of the pad where the age is getting to it. I would have at least a check of the pads to see how much material you've got left. 25,000 miles is a bit for front pads, depending how it's been driven. That's a few miles on a set of pads. If that's original pads, maybe they're getting into a layer of the material that's creating the dust more than it did, in that first 50% of the pad. It could be something. Certainly, there's low dust pads available now. That are pretty good like that. But yeah, definitely pull the wheels and have a look at the pads. Your rears will be fine. You'll have loads of life left in the rears. But your front pads could well be fairly low at that mileage. Captain Desmo, I'm looking for a new set of conrod bearings to make it a little bit tighter. It's going to be a cowl style steering setup for my 26T with a 4 1/4 nailer. Going to be wild. Now, 4 1/4 nailer, that's got to be a 425 nail head, right? The 26T. That sounds very cool. Okay, so I'm looking for a new set of. Now, did you mean Conrad or Conrod bearings? Steering box is not going to have Conrod bearings in it. So, what's that about? Is that something? Is that a term I'm not familiar with? The Conrad bearing? Lower Man's Vintage Garage. Quick question. I need to clean out the fuel tank on a 60 T-Bird. Is there a way to clean it out without dropping the tank? No, there is not. Not that I'm aware of. Not to do it properly. No, you really got to take the tank out. 1960 T-Bird, realistically, there's a decent chance you're going to need to replace it, depending on whether it's sat for long periods or not. Most tanks, Tom, that hit 65 years have some issues, pretty typically, because you're always going to get a little bit of water in your gas, and the water sits in the tank, and the years just do their damage, I would take it out, and then you can have a good look at it. There's places that will reline them. There's places that'll boil them. Try and clean them out. There's a few. You do have a few options depending on the availability of the tank. I mean, honestly, if you can get a new tank, just get one. I don't. If new tanks are available, I don't mess around trying to clean them. The labor versus the cost of the tank, unless it's like super expensive. Paul Funk, the car that Barney bought was a 53 or 54 Ford. Wow, you guys have great memories. You, Bob, do they have ice down under, or they're like Europe with room temperature drink? No, ice definitely. And our beer is cold. Colder, the better. That's a very English thing with the room temperature beer is, can't do that. No, not at all. Stray Bullet, that Nat farm vehicle is pretty neat. It really is. It really is pretty cool. Rick Weatherby just got the car about 3 months ago. Cool. Chris tried lots of recipe to make ice, and toast is giving me trouble also. Oh dear, things are pretty grim at your place, mate, aren't they? Barracuda, we don't like warm beer, but if all I have is warm, I'll have it. I'd have to be very thirsty to drink warm beer. Very thirsty. Driveway of Misfits. Some pads are just inherently dustier than others. Some European brand I once used were horribly dusty. Yeah, there seems to be a little bit of an equation between the higher the drag coefficient, the friction that they have, like the more grippy the pads are, they tend to make more dust. That's been my experience anyway. And the other one, often the pads with high grip are very hard on the rotors. You'll wear your rotors out at about the same rate as the pads. Stray bullet. I think it was an old shoebox. Yep, 53, 54 Ford. That's what they called them. Rick Weatherby, thank you. I will check them out. No problem, mate. Captain Desmo, 425 nailhead. Great engine. Great engine. Many, many, many years ago, I had a 66 Buick Electra two-door hardtop, which was just a gigantic car. Massive, massive car. And that had someone in this, that was in New Zealand, and at some point in its history, someone had swapped out the 401 for a 425. So that thing went quite well. And I've loved those engines ever since. They very cool engine. I've got one sitting under the bench at work, a 425, that I came across and bought it, and I don't know, I'll do something with it one day. It did cross my mind to put it into the F100. That just kind of just floated through there briefly, and it's floated through a couple of times since then. It's like, I wonder. Especially when I had that 392 Hemi one in the shop. It's like, well, does it have to be an FE engine? Does it have to be a small block Ford? Why not a 425 nailhead? What do you guys think? In an F100? I don't know. It's a bit out there, but it would, and part of what goes through my mind is that would make good YouTube fodder, because you'd definitely polarize some people. Some people think it'd be a great idea, and some people would just hate you to bits for it. But the haters are also viewers. Straight bullet. Hopefully you won't need to boil any water. Yeah, probably burn it, mate. Christopher C. On my 80 Chevy C30 454, I was able to drop the oil pan by pointing the balancer to the 6 o'clock position to clear the crank. Oh, wow. Right. Yeah, we distributed at the back, so yeah. Huh. Sounds like you were taking the oil pan off fairly often. Or not, I don't know. Granny's junk, I always found the Bendix pads to be very good. Yeah, they were good brake pads, for sure. Captain Desmo. Oh, shot up there, gone too far. Here we go. Conrad bearings. Cage style bearings that were designed by a man with the name Conrad. I didn't know that. My son is, his name's Conrad. I'm going to have to look up Conrad bearings now. I can sling some shit in his direction, which seems fair. Cut to the chase. Mess or concentrated simple green is great for cleaning out old fuel sludge caramel. Yeah. When I had to clean the tank in March because she'd sat since '79, and that had it was a little bit hard to say, but I would say around half an inch to 3/4 of an inch deep in the very bottom of the tank, because it's a tank that sits kind of this way, not that way, because it sits in one rear quarter on the side. So it's actually only 8 inches wide side to side, but vertically it's like 2 feet tall. So all that sludge that normally sits across the big area on the bottom was all in a little narrow area. So it was probably 3/4 of an inch deep of this just tar that was turning back to dinosaurs. And the only thing I could get to move it was paint stripper. I tried a few things like that, and nothing was looking. Acetone wasn't really it was scratching the surface, but so to speak, it was melting the surface of this sludge to some degree, but not enough. And in the end, I put the aircraft paint stripper down into the tank and sealed it and left it for a day. And what came out was fairly foreign-looking substance. Yeah. But that was the only thing that would budge it. Drive-over misfits. Akibono pads are really good, but I can't always get them. Akibono, not heard of them. No, never heard of them. Granddad's junk. Chris is becoming hard to get quality. Oh, mate, yeah, I know. And honestly, in my opinion, we're our own worst enemy. And I'm talking in general terms, not all of us and not everyone. I don't mean everyone here on the live, but an awful lot of people, a very high percentage, shop purely on price. They want the cheapest piece, part, TV, cake mixer, toaster, whatever it is. They want the cheapest one they can buy. So the manufacturers are catering to what people are asking for, and they want cheap junk, and that's what the manufacturers are making for. So yeah, I do think the buying public has something to answer for their thirst for the cheapest. Getting the most for their money. What they perceive as the most for their money, and often it's really not the most for their money. You can spend twice as much on a set of pads, and if they go twice as far, well, you're actually ahead because you've only had to change them the one time. So, the labour is saved. This is where the balance has kind of got a bit out of whack, I think, because the parts are so very cheap these days when labour is so very high. So, you need to start, I think the average consumer needs to start thinking about, the quality and longevity of the parts they're buying or things that they're buying, and factor that in against the cost of labour of getting these things fixed. Like a cheap washing machine, you get one service call out from a washing machine repairman, and you've done any savings you made, on the sticker price. But yeah, I think we need to get back to better quality products and not spending as much to maintain them. Where are we at to? Driveway of misfits. Yeah, it's really bad these days. Seems like 50% of everything is bad out of the box. Yeah, I've had my share of bad parts. Master cylinders that I've had master cylinders leak doing the bench bleed on them. You're pumping it to bench bleed it, and there's brake fluid coming out the back of the piston. And it's like, oh, well, that's junk, isn't it? So, yeah. Dave, have you decided which bed you are going to put on the shop truck? Yeah, mate, I'm going to go short bed on it. I am. I've decided that. I've got a short bed in the shop. Okay, it's a bump side. It's the like a 1970. That's the Mopar powered one. And those two trucks side by side, I just like the short bed better. And a lot of people have said they're way more practical than a long bed. You can carry an 8x4 sheet in the back of a long bed. Well, you can in a short bed too. You just got to drop the tailgate down and let it hang out the back a wee bit. Not even much, because the short bed in that dent side F100 like I've got is the short bed is actually 6 3/4 feet long. They're only 14 inches shorter. They're not that much shorter, really. They're not. People talk about 6 foot and 8 foot beds, but that dent side F100 is 6 3/4 feet. The earlier one, like the 70, the Mopar one I've got, they're 6.5 feet. Not many vehicles actually have a 6 foot bed. Now, Captain Desmo, it's a great idea, but make it so that it's a tutorial. Yeah, if I do that, I would definitely, that would be good video stuff. And who knows, I might yet. For right now, that's not, I have these little fleeting thoughts, and that's just more work than I've got time for right now. and it's got a perfectly good working 302. I have to keep bringing myself back and saying, "Whoa, slow down, stop!" Like, because I start thinking we could put a 4-link in it in the rear, and we could put coilover shocks, and we could do this, I could do that, and it's like it's meant to be a shop truck. So I am kind of going away from that a little with the Crown Vic front suspension, but that's a selfish thing. I just like the way the modern suspension drives, and I don't like the way that twin I-beam system that setup they have drives. I just don't. I like rack and pinion, true independent front suspension. So I'm putting that in to make it a more enjoyable driver. Not really to make it, I guess it is making it a hot rod, but in my head, it's more about making it a pleasant driver that I will, at the end of a long day's work, I can jump in it and not go, oh, God, I've got to drive this thing home. I want to jump in it and go, wee, let's go, and actually enjoy the drive home. And I think that Crown Vic will, allow that to be the case. Craig Nearing, I made it a bit late. Mate, that's all right. You're only an hour late. You got the second half. You're all good. Barracuda, I like odd engine swaps. I knew a 58 Ford with a 383 Chrysler and Torque Flight, for example. Yeah, well, there you go. Why not? I remember, gosh, how long ago was it now? 18 months ago, I had that like a 1940 odd Lincoln with a 383 Chrysler in it and Torque Flight. And the whole Chrysler, like they put a front clip. They kind of front halved, as it were, the chassis onto this Lincoln, and complete with the motor and trans. And it looked completely like a stock Lincoln until you opened the hood. You couldn't tell, and it wasn't a hot rod. But I think probably the same sort of thing. They wanted it to handle a little bit more, a little bit more modern. And have some better brakes, a little bit better suspension, and plenty of power because they're a big heavy car. Chris Triumph, my elderly neighbour asked me why the front rims on her car were covered in rust. Turned out she never had a brake service in 10 years. The rotors looked like old 45 RPM records. Oh, dear. Wow, it's a long time. Rick Weatherby, I had a 72 Nova with the 455 Olds and the Super and the 400 with the Danish 60 rear end and Caddy radiator. Wow, that's a mismatch, isn't it? Why not? 455 Olds. That would have been a fairly rapid little Nova, I imagine. Driveway of Misfits. Accubono pads are actually made in the US. Used to put them on my Dodge. There you go. The only problem is the cheap junk isn't really all that cheap anymore. No, well, this is it. Not when you factor in, what it costs to get these parts installed. It's a little bit different if you're doing all your own stuff. But, if you've got to pay a tech to put that stuff in, and you've got to do it more regularly, it's the cost of labor that's going to kill you. Craig Nearing, Accubono are a premium ceramic pad, very good and quiet. Good to know. Hadn't heard of them. Lower Man's Vintage Garage, totally agree. We need to pay for higher quality or else all we will get is shite. Yeah, we've got to tell the suppliers what we want. We got to, tell them what we want, demand what we want. And, if you want better quality, you're going to have to pay a little bit more for it. But I really do think you save money in the long run. Granddad's junk. What do you say? If you really want to go crazy, put a 66 Datsun Prince 6-cylinder in it. That would be a little crazy. But, I think I'm going to struggle to find one of them here. somehow. Snow Crusher, the cheap and the poor pay twice. Yeah. The cheap, well, that's on them. The poor, that kind of sucks for them, because sometimes that's all they can manage, and that's part of the reason they can't get ahead, But the people that are just cheap, well, that's on them. Paul Funk had really good luck with Akabono pads. Okay, I have to look into that. I really wasn't familiar with the name. Cut to the chase. Just spent 3 hours fixing our clothes dryer. Seriously considered calling a service tech. There you go. Oh, good on you for doing it yourself, mate. I do all that stuff myself. I just go onto YouTube. Like, I've fixed microwaves and washing machines and dryers and all sorts of shit around here. And, there's so many videos on YouTube now that'll tell you how to do it. Some of the people doing the videos aren't very good, and you've kind of got to filter through and find someone that makes sense, or at least makes sense to you, the way they're explaining things. And often they'll have the parts and part numbers and where you can get them and all that sort of stuff. And and honestly, it's part of the reason I do it. Obviously, it saves you a couple of bucks, and that's really not the key. That's probably secondary, really. The fact is that if I call a tech, I've got to shut, Mrs. Kiwi is probably going to be out of town working because she's in corporate. So she travels a lot. So she's probably going to be out of town. That means I've got to shut the shop, come back to the house, wait for a tech to arrive somewhere between 10 and 12 or 2 and 4 or whenever they say they're going to come, stand around while they do it. Meanwhile, I'm missing out on work on my labor rate, whereas if I can go on YouTube, order the part, I can bang it in one night after work and kind of haven't lost half a day, messing around with stuff that I don't want to. Tim Miller, if we buy better stuff at way cutting costs and can't increase your paycheck. Yeah. I'm not quite sure what you mean, Tim. If we buy better stuff at way cuttings costs and can't increase your paycheck. I'm not sure what you mean, mate. But hey, welcome along. Hello. Dave, please make a video when you change the bed. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We will be doing. The bed itself is probably going to get done over on Kevin Tates' channel. Now, while I'm talking about him, the other weekend, not the weekend just gone, the weekend before, I spent a Saturday with him getting his Chevy truck going. And we had a lot of laughs. We had a bit of fun. We got it running. And, we videoed all that, the typical banter that goes on between us. And that video is coming out on his channel. So that's Paintucation by Kevin Tates, 8 o'clock this coming Saturday. So watch out for that. As I say, it should be quite entertaining. We had a few laughs. But it's good. And, we got his old Chevy truck running and it ran well. So, look out for that. Saturday morning, 8 o'clock. So, yes, going back to the bed, we're probably going to be doing like building that bed. We're going to build it brand new, all from AMD products, and build a brand new bed for it on his channel because he's a spokesperson for AMD. So he makes them a lot of videos. So he needed an F100 to build a bed for. And then when I turned up with one, he's like, okay, can I use your truck? You want to put a bed on it? And I'm like, yeah, perfect. Sounds like a plan. So, I'll be doing videos on my channel of shortening the chassis, taking that 14 inches out of it, getting that done. And maybe lowering the rear suspension a bit or something like that, depending if again, keeping it simple, not 4 links or coilovers or anything like that, just staying with leafs, just moving the mounting points, that kind of thing. So that'll be on my channel. And then the bed fabrication, putting it together, will be over on Kevin's channel, Paintucation. So go and check it out. He has some really good videos. He's the consummate professional. Most of you probably will know him from his time on Trucks TV, on Power Nation and Power Block TV. And yeah, he's a really good dude and very, very knowledgeable, very clever on paint work and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we had him on the live here, I don't know, 6 weeks ago, and good dude. So yeah, keep an eye out on his channel. What else have we got? Captain Desmo, that's how I feel about the 26T project. Get in and go. Yeah, there you go. Stray Bullet, put the 2-valve engine that will come with the Crown Vic in the shop truck. No, all I got was I just bought a front end, a front suspension, and the whole cradle. So yeah, I won't be. No 4.6s for that truck. I put the 302 in it that I had at the shop, spare engine. So that was a cheap way to get that thing mobile. So yeah, that 302 will be staying in there certainly in the foreseeable future, unless something interesting comes my way, and I've suddenly figured out how to create a lot more time for my own project. So yeah. Tim Miller, Crown Vic frame and motor, 4.6, nice truck. No, going to be sticking with the F100 frame and just putting the Crown Vic steering and suspension under the front of it. Just, again, keep it simple. It's not a full-on hot rod. It is meant to be an actual workshop truck. I mean, we towing a trailer with it. And it's not going to get fancy paint job or anything like that. We're going to be able to throw an engine in the back of it. And not have to fuss too much about it. There's going to be no fancy wooden beds and any of that stuff like that. It's going to be a truck, but it will at least steer and stop nice, Captain Desmo, hockey is on. I'm out. Keep the faith and keep going on. There you go. Paul Funk, I remember a 455 Olds powered Chevette. Wow. That raced in Bandamere Speedway back in the day. That would have been awesome. Yeah, that's a little pocket rocket, isn't it? Rick Weatherby, he's out as well, heading out. Oh, well, good to have you here, mate, while you were here. So thanks for stopping in. James, good evening, Kiwi. I'm a newly licensed automotive technician in Canada, and I'm wondering what your preference is when performing wiring repairs, soldering or butt connectors. Cheers. Soldering, depending where you're from. Kiwis call it soldering. Here in the States, it's soldering, like it's just SOD. But yeah, soldering and heat shrink. I prefer, but depends. There's a few little variables in there, but that's definitely the way to do it. Stray Bullet, I don't like throwing away expensive appliances. No, fair enough too. Fair enough. Chris Triumph, I'm looking for a brass Model T. I can get one in Michigan, but she's pricey. Yeah, you got to pay to play, mate. You got to pay to play. Chances are it's an investment. It'll I would imagine would just keep going up in price. Christopher C, have you done a frame bushing video for something like your shop trunk? Frame bushing. That's the one at the back. Okay, I think I know the one you mean. No, I haven't. My one needs them badly. But it's probably not going to be a video I make because I'm going to be throwing all that stuff out. That's all going away. Yeah, I believe it's a relatively hard job. It's not a quick one to do. I haven't done them on one of those, I'll be honest with you. But I believe it is quite a reasonable amount of work to do. I've kind of toyed with the idea of just doing it for the sake of doing a video and then taking it out. But yeah, I mean, it's just time. Time is against me. So yeah, probably won't be making that video. But I'm sure someone on YouTube will have a video on doing those frame bushings. Paul Funk, my friend, has a turbo Cosworth powered Triumph Spitfire drag car, tube chassis with a power glide. Good lord! Wow, that's 4-cylinder turbo car. I bet that's not here in the States, is it? Um, Tim Miller, cutting cost of living, cutting overhead costs by buy good products. Yeah, it does cut your overhead in the long run. Yeah. Steve Sadusky, I never buy the cheapest parts ever. I did once, long time ago, and it bit me in the rear and double the work. Yeah, yep, yeah. It's usually the way it goes, mate. It's usually the way it goes. I once fixed a hangover by drinking more. Well, yes, that's one of the exceptions to the rule, isn't it? Tim Miller, my brother got an Omni. My brother got Omni race car, got Power Glide for 340. Needs dusting off and get going racing. Yeah, that would be a neat car. An Omni with a 340 and Power Glide. Wow, yeah, that'd be cool drag car. Stray Bullet, I will say this about wire connections, James. Soldered connections are prohibited for use in aircraft due to problems with the wire breaking right next to the solder joint. Okay. That's true. They do. Yeah, if they move, which they're going to on an aircraft. Okay, Stray Bullet. What is the what's the specified way of joining electrical wire for an aircraft use? Is it crimp connectors or butt connectors? Or you're not allowed to reconnect. You just got to run them from their start point to their end point. Barracuda in New Zealand, there were Chinese-made drop spindles that were recalled because of poor quality steel. That's definitely a part you don't want to. No, you do not want to break a spindle. No. Wow. What brand were they? Was that like a no-name Chinese brand, or like who was selling those? I haven't heard of that. Driveway of misfits. No wood bed for the F100. Grandad and I were going to make a custom rata bed for your truck. Mate, that would be cool, wouldn't it? Whoa. Yeah. But you couldn't load anything on it. I mean, you're not going to drop an oily old engine and transmission on a rata truck bed, are you? No, but it would be cool. Tim Miller, cool. Put clear on D150, save paint, red patina, Ram loaded. There you go. Yeah, just put flat clear. Don't put gloss clear. That F100 I got at work's got gloss clear on it, and it doesn't quite look right somehow. Barracuda. I don't like the way soldering sounds. Yeah. True. Tim Miller, everyone cleaning dry events 2 times a year. Fire can happen. Well, yeah, it can. It can. Oh, it actually reminds me. I've got to do the one here in the house. So the dryer's not drying so well, and I think it's a bit blocked up. That'll be a Sunday job. Craig Nearing, speaking of appliances, Spewed Queen are still made here in Wisconsin. Very serviceable. Spewed Queen. What the heck sort of name is that? Speed Queen. Okay. All right. Yeah, read down a couple of comments, and I get to the real deal. Speed Queen. Speed Queen. Kind of love predictive text, don't you? Speed Queens are the best washing machines available, bar none. Speed Queen. I had not even heard of that. Made in Wisconsin. And it's still being made in Wisconsin? That's amazing. Paul Funk, the Cosworth engine came from the UK. Raced it at Las Vegas last weekend. It's a 9-second car. Wow. Nice. That's quick. Stray bullet. Crimp connections. Okay. There you go. You just need a good quality crimping tool, right? I know I've got a very good set of crimping pliers. But I've seen a lot of cheap ones you get in those little kits, and they're the crimps that always slide apart. I've seen Beagle Bob. I've seen crimps on AC. Snow Crusher solder connections has more resistance than a good crimp connection with heat shrink. Okay, interesting stuff, guys. Poor fuck. I've had too much to drink and can't type properly. It's a problem. Oh, Barracuda, don't know what brand those spindles were. Yeah. Yeah, well, the LTSA would have come down pretty hard on those if they saw some failures. Josh Homan, Speed Queen, Ripon, Wisconsin. Huh. Driveway of Misfits. If my 28-year-old Maytag washer ever gives up the ghost, it gets replaced with the Speed Queen. 28 years old. Wow. Stray bullet, you do need to do quality crimps. Yeah, a really good set of crimping pliers makes all the difference, in my opinion. Speed Queen are the laundromat favourite. Well, that probably tells you a lot, doesn't it? Because those things just work 24 hours a day, don't they? And don't get a lot of love from the users, do they? That's interesting. Speed Queen. I thought I was supposed to be telling you guys, like sharing my knowledge with you, my wisdom with you guys, and you guys are telling me all this stuff. See, like I'm the one getting the education here. I'm okay with that. How we doing? Oh, look at that. We got more likes than we got people in the room. That's good. Thank you for all the likes, guys. Now, what do we got? This Windows update is still going. Have plenty of time if you do it. I have plenty of time. Oh, does it take a while to do, to do the install? Tim Miller, your F-150 have overdrive trans? No, it doesn't. It's a 3-speed, but it's not overdrive. Apparently, they stopped the overdrive, or they dropped the overdrive transmission when they went to the Dent side truck in 73. Mine's a 74. So previous to that, and I only just learnt about these overdrive transmissions the other day. The guy with the Mopar F-150 was telling me he's got 3 or 4 of those overdrive, 3-speed manual overdrive transmissions. So it crossed my mind to take one of those off his hands and put it in my 74, just, again, for something a little bit different, So it would be quite nice to have an overdrive gear. So yeah, I know where I can probably put my hands on 1 or 2, because he bought them thinking he'd be running a Ford engine, and then the Ford engine that was in the truck gave up, so he ended up going with the Mopar, the 392. So he doesn't need the transmissions anymore. So there might be an overdrive transmission like that in my truck's future. Who knows? Driveway of misfits. Nothing says the flow of info has to be a one-way street. Absolutely, sir. You are 100% correct. Yeah, I'm always happy to have new information sent my way. Knowledge is power, as they say. Chris Triumph, Kiwi. Since I turned 60 years old, I have moved on from wearing a belt, and it's full on suspenders. I don't care anymore. Yeah, my wife's always like having a go at me for sagging a bit because I don't have an ass anymore. So my even with a belt tight, my jeans want to creep down. So I tease her about going with suspenders, and she's like, "No, she's not in her lifetime." She says she's not doesn't want to be seen with a husband wearing suspenders. So I've been told in no uncertain terms. So a belt it is for me. But yeah, I can definitely see the value in suspenders. Craig Nearing, they're built like a tank. The washing machines, yeah, I'm sure. If that's what's in the laundromats, then they must be. Yeah, straight bullet. Life is just a learning process. Yeah, yep, absolutely. Yeah, in the shop, working on old cars, there's not a week goes by when I don't learn something. And sometimes it's just learning through your mistakes. Sometimes it's just looking at something new and figuring it out, and sometimes it's looking for videos on YouTube or some outside advice. How do you do this? And it's I don't think you ever really stop learning. Driveway of misfits. Upgrading from 10 to 11 takes a lot of time and will require at least one reboot. Be forewarned that Microsoft adds a lot of junk features you're likely want to get rid of. That sounds about right. Craig Nearing, I had a 59 Ford 352 with a 3-speed overdrive. Yeah. I had a customer come in with a 57 Thunderbird that had a 3-speed manual with overdrive. And that was pretty cool. And that had, I don't know whether the Ford trucks had it, but this Thunderbird, when you were in overdrive and you came off the throttle, the engine would return to idle, like it would freewheel, and had like a one-way directional clutch inside the overdrive. So if you were going down a hill, if you trail off the throttle, it takes away all your engine braking. You got no engine braking because as soon as you come off the throttle, basically the engine is disconnected from your driveline. No engine braking, but no, the engine staying at 3,000 revs or 2,500 revs, like for a long way down a hill. It would just return to idle, and then when you rolled back into the throttle, you'd have to get up to the correct RPMs. It's slightly faster than what the drive shaft was spinning at, and then you'd feel it bite, and then you'd start to accelerate. It was a little bit. First time I experienced it driving it, I actually thought something had broken because I took off down the road, and it was in overdrive. I went into second, and then trailed off the throttle just because there was someone in front of me, and then didn't really notice the RPMs, but then accelerated a little bit, and it just free revved. And it's like, oh, the clutch is gone. Something's broken and I blipped the throttle again, and it revved up, and then I blipped it a bit harder, and then you felt it bite as the engine revs surpassed what the drive shaft speed was. That one-way clutch then grabbed and it accelerated. So it was an odd sensation, but once you got used to it, it was fine. But the first time it did it to me, it's like, oh, good grief, something's broken. But no, it wasn't. Tim Miller, Ford had made top loaders and vans, 81 trucks was overdrive in fourth gear. I got them. Look at part numbers. Okay. Well, that sounds like that Chrysler overdrive one where third gear was 1-to-1 and then fourth gear was an overdrive. Beagle Bob, suspenders are great no matter what all our wives say. Yeah, okay. Well, don't think I'm quite ready for suspenders yet, but I'm sure my day will come. Yeah, when I'm eating junk food and she's saying you shouldn't be eating all that junk food, I just remind her that I'm just trying to grow my backside so that it'll hold my jeans up. Paul Funk, there is a washing machine museum in Estes Park, Colorado. A washing machine museum? Wow. Huh. Dave, wife just got home. Got to go. Cheers. Hey, cheers, mate. Thanks for joining in. Barry Cooter, my not very old Samsung fridge stopped working. Pretty sure it's something on the circuit board. The technical helpline is hopeless. Yeah, Samsung's very poor in that regard. And parts seem hard to get, so I think I'll just have to dump it. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? You shouldn't have to dump what is essentially a working fridge freezer because of a part like that. It's very wasteful, really. I can't think of a better word for it. I mean, that's kind of that throwaway society where we live in today. But there was a time when there'd be several refrigerator repair companies around, and you'd ring one of them, and they'd come in, and they'd probably have the parts in the van, and they'd fix it, and away you go. Same with TVs, isn't it? When was the last time you saw a TV repairman? Christopher C. Have an SM465 in my 80C30. I'm tired of having to stand on the clutch sometimes because of the Z-bar setup. Yeah, the Z-bars are pretty old technology, aren't they? You can always put a hydraulic clutch in it. There's lots of alternatives for hydraulic clutches out there. Driveway of misfits. Yeah, Samsung and LG appliances don't have a good reputation. No. They used to. Samsung used to be pretty good, but they seem to have gone down that cheaper is better and no quality control is better and little customer backup, customer services, cutting their overheads, I guess, at every possible turn. And ultimately, it's the consumer that suffers. But they see a cheap sticker price and go, ooh. And I can't say I'm not guilty of doing the same thing. I'm not trying to be all righteous. I'm not. I've bought stuff on price, and I've been bit in the ass as well. It can be very tempting at times, and that's what they prey on. Snow Crusher, never hire a man that wears a belt and a straw hat. He will spend half the time pulling up his pants and the other half chasing his hat. Oh, yes. I'd hate to think how many times I'd hitch my britches up in a day. More than a few. Andy Nicol, I got to say, I brought my Sebring new back in 05 and still puts a smile on my face when I drive it, especially with the top down. We nearly bought the Sebring convertible in 08 when we got here. I picked up my 08 Dodge Ram which we needed for towing a fifth wheel around with. And there was these lovely little Sebring convertibles that they had on the yard as well, and it coming from New Zealand at that, like hot off the boat, so to speak, from New Zealand, that it was very reasonably priced compared to anything we saw in New Zealand. It was like, ooh, that's very tempting. We didn't, which was sensible, because that would have just been, a truck, a car, and a fifth wheeler all getting traveling around America at the same time. It would have been too much, like, hard work. But it was pretty tempting looking vehicle, I have to say. Oh, good Lord. The lower man's vintage garage. I like the junk food for the preservatives. I'll never die. Well, I hate to break the news to you, man. That's not quite how it works. Driveway of misfits. Back from the store. Where are my Oreos? Yeah, I wonder where mine are. Yeah, I don't have any either. I quite like me some Oreos. Christopher C. If you are trying to learn to solder, better get a cheap hot air station and solder iron combo to help. Not familiar with the hot air station. Chris Triumph, I bought one of those new cordless cell phone things, but still can't walk more than 3 feet from the wall while using it. Old habits die hard. Oh, it's not the phone stopping you; it's your it's your old habit stopping you from walking 3 feet from the wall. Good Lord, that's tough. Tim Miller, planned obviously on stuff. I'm guessing you mean obsolescence, planned obsolescence on stuff. Beagle Bob, I like my Maytag with the Made in USA sticker, as you should. America would do well to support its own industries more than they do. They need to. They need, that could be something. I would see as a good thing if the government were to launch a, buy in the USA campaign. They had a similar thing in New Zealand years ago, buy New Zealand made, back when we were making things in New Zealand. And again, New Zealand's not too dissimilar to America in that way. New Zealand imports everything because no one can make it cheaper than China. Andy Nickel, you forgot the Oreos, good Lord. Yeah, that's what happens with old man brain, isn't it, eh? I know the feeling. I saw a good meme the other day, and how did it go? It was the guy was so pleased with himself. He says, "I'm really proud of myself because I remembered the reason why I walked into this room." And he said, "It was the toilet, but still." Barry Cooter, the local electrician, didn't even want to look at it. He gave up on Samsung stuff years ago. Wow. Beagle Bob, Kiwi, I think some overalls are your answer. Bib or full body. There you go. Yeah, that was a real thing. Gosh, in my younger days, overalls, were just standard equipment, like just, full overalls. Gosh, must be 30 years since I've worn overalls, honestly. Craig Nearing, I have an 84G top freezer refrigerator. It's a bit dowdy, but no electronics. No. But, whatever the temperature in your freezers, I'm sure it's just as cold as the temperature in my one. Cold is cold, frozen is frozen. Christopher C. I do granite work, kitchens and baths. I now remove all those phone and coaxial jacks everyone had to have in the kitchen now. Right. Yeah. Huh. Of course. Now everybody wants a USB charger in their power outlet, right? We got tons of power outlets with USB chargers in them in our house now. Beagle Bowl. I'm not confident I'm older than your appliances. Yeah, me too, just a bit. Andy Nickel, the convertible is quite different than the stand. Yeah, they're a nice little convertible. Good looking little car. They did a hardtop convertible and a ragtop convertible, didn't they? If I remember rightly. Driveway of misfits. Important question. Regular Oreos or double stuff? I'm probably a regular Oreo, honestly. Yeah, I quite like the chocolate biscuit. So yeah, just regular ones for me. Thanks, mate. I've known some people who could accurately be described as hot air stations. I got you, man. I know the type. I know the ones you mean. Absolutely, I do. Alan Schildroff, I still have a TV that has been sitting there for 2 years that needs 2 resistors that I need to find. Well, you can't. It's not finished until you throw it away, right? Dave Tyree, Oreos, question mark, ginger nuts. Yeah, well, ginger nuts are such a Kiwi thing, aren't they? But I don't like ginger nuts. I'm not a ginger fan. My wife, if anyone comes over from New Zealand or if we head back there, we've got to stock up on ginger nuts, 3 or 4 packs of ginger nut biscuits. And it's like, I've just never been a fan of the flavour. Ginger's just not my thing. Not terrible, but it's just not my choice, I'd rather have Tim Tams or something like that, or Cookie Bear chocolate chip cookies. Yeah, those are good. Stray Bullet. The United States needs to back off some of the environmental nonsense to make manufacturing easier here. Yeah, I agree completely. They certainly don't make it easy. There needs to be a balance. There needs to be some environmental protection. I think that's vital. If you ever spend any time in China away from the tourist trap spots, their country is not very pretty away from the sanitized parts of it. It's a mess because there is no environmental protection of any kind. So yeah, there needs to be a balance, but the balance has gone too far, to protecting the environment. In my opinion, for what it's worth, I think that needs to be a little more balanced. Biggle Bob, I try to buy American everything, even if it costs more. Going to have to wait for most of the tools, though. Yeah, true. Craig Nearing, remember Hot Point appliances? No, I do not. Christopher C. used a hot air station to replace HDMI port on Xbox the other day. I don't even know what a hot air station is. Is that like soldering with high temperature air? Explain to the uninitiated. Hot Point was made just across town in Alice Chalmers. Alice Chalmers, why do I know that name? Where's Alice Chalmers? I know the name. Laurel Flynn, hey man, how you doing? Late home from lunch today, Kiwi. The beach hop went well. Coming home over the hill, I got caught behind a Cadillac. Now my Falcon is well set up, so I started feeling like the little Nash Rambler. Yeah, I bet you did. How cool. Yeah, I've seen a few little bits of footage on the beach hop, and from all accounts, it was a fabulous, fabulous event. Um, that's actually, from the couple of times I've been, um, and what I've seen, video of it, it really is or has become a world class event. And yeah, fabulous, fabulous event. How many cars, Laurel? How many cars did they reckon were down there this year for that event? I know the last time I went, I think they were talking, like 1,500 cars were down there between the registered and unregistered ones. Um, Beagle Bob, does it sound like a better idea to grind down a distributor cap or fuel rail? I'm leaning towards the cheaper plastic one. Not sure what you mean. Don't really understand the question. Does it sound like a better idea to grind down a distributor cap or fuel rail? I'm leaning towards the cheaper plastic one. Sorry, mate, I'm not following you. Maybe I'm too much old fashioned in my system now. Snow crusher. That's fun. I went to the Oreo website and it said click here to accept all cookies. Now I wait. That's funny. I love it. I love it. That's a good one. Beagle Bob. I love ginger snaps. Well, ginger nuts are quite similar to ginger snaps. Barracuda. Bit of useful information I heard. Billy Idol has owned a Boss 302 Mustang for many years. Billy Idol. Okay. 302 Bosses. They're a very desirable car. Interesting. My wife's a big fan of Billy Idols. She, you hear her pull into the garage, and she's like a Billy Idol blaring out the stereo. Fortunately, it's loud enough to drown out who's singing. But did I say that out loud? Oops. She does watch sometimes, so I better be careful, huh? Driveway of Misfits. Alice Chalmers used to make tractors. Okay. Huh. Josh Homan, that is exactly what hot air soldering is. Huh. Makes sense. Have you seen those little heat shrink soldering connectors? I've seen them. I got sent a little sample pack of them, and it's like a piece of heavy heat shrink tube with a little ring of solder inside it, or solder inside it, and you use a hot air gun on it, and you just heat the shit out of it, and you'll see the solder actually melt and get running, because the shrink tube is like an opaque, like red or blue or yellow depending on the size, and so you can actually see the solder melt and it shrinks down. They seem to work pretty well, actually. Very good. I had a hot air station until she walked out on me. Oh my goodness, you guys are bad. Yes. It's funny. The Lower Man's vintage. Alice Chalmers made farm gear and Chalmers made cars in the tens. Wow. They also used to make electronics, says Josh. Yeah. Beagle Bob, the rail contacts my distributor cap and I can't get the cap on all the way. Be a little careful grinding away at your distributor cap, because you might create a problem with tracking where the electric, your spark will track. Like if you ever had a cracked distributor cap, the spark will, instead of heading down the spark plug lead, will track along the crack. So I'd be a little concerned about. It depends where you've got to grind it. But yeah, keep that in mind, the spark, because there's quite a bit of resistance in your spark plugs, especially if you've got a decent sized gap on the spark plug. So there's resistance there. The spark has to push its way across the gap to make it jump. So if it can find another way out, and the spark loves to run out through cracks, and that can be a crack in the top of the coil body, crack inside the distributor. It will track along a crack and find a different way out that has less resistance than forcing that spark down the plug wire and across the gap in the plug. So yeah, just be a little wary of that, just where you've got to grind. If it's too close to the spark, the plug leads, you might be creating a problem. You may have to make a custom fuel rail. Tim Miller just lost a buddy, car falling on him, was in his late 30s and was a good soul and made 30s era cars like Hot Rod Magazine. Oh, mate, that's no good. Fell on him. Wow, that's tragic. Sorry to hear that, man. You never want to hear about that. That's not good. Beagle Bob, that's what I get for mixing 3 brands, I guess. Mate, that's hot rodding, though, isn't it? That's hot rodding. So, yeah, it just means all you've done is you've found a problem. Now all you have to do is find a solution. That's what hot rodding is about, is making stuff work and finding a solution. There's always a solution. If there's a problem, there is a solution. It's just figuring out what it is and in a reasonably affordable way. Shockwave Misfit. When your internet connection suddenly disappears, well, no, Mrs. Kiwi heard what you said. Exactly. Laurel Flynn, cars were everywhere. Next to where we stayed, a 69 Mustang never moved. Oh, wow. That's a bit of a waste, isn't it? Should have been getting involved. Craig Nearing, Alice Chalmers' last big gig was the hydro plant in Egypt. They made generators and transformers. Simplicity lawnmowers too. Good Lord. These Tuesday Night Lives are great because the subjects we get onto are just so varied. And I think it's great. Yeah, Alice Chalmers and washing machines and Maytag and Speed Queen, and it's I mean, it's certainly not what I imagined we'd be talking about tonight, but then I didn't have a preconceived idea because I have come to learn that we talk about all sorts of shit, which is great. It's good. Hey, we're running out of time. It's 8:57. 3 minutes to go. So let's quickly try and get through these comments. My friend Chris Strife, my friend's older brother, had a Boss 302 Mustang with an inline 4-barrel carb from the factory. An inline? I'm not familiar with that. An inline 4-barrel carb from the factory. Tell me more. I've not heard of that. I've seen like an IDA Weber, which is a 2-barrel. I've seen a 4-barrel version of that, which is like 4 in a row. But I really didn't think the Boss Mustang's got that. Paul Funk, how about Frigidaire appliances owned by GM? Yeah, that's pretty good stuff, I believe. Chris Freemasser, Frigidaire stuff is pretty decent stuff according to appliance service people I've heard from. There you go. Barry Curter, have you heard of drilling a breather hole in a distributor cap to prevent buildup of ionized air? I have not. That's a new one on me. I have heard of people cleaning out the distributor cap with carb cleaner and putting the distributor cap back on and trying to start the car up. Yeah. Exit the distributor cap at a high rate of knots. Yeah, you got to make sure they dry out before you put the, evaporate all the flammables off before you put the cap back on. So yeah, I've actually seen what's left of a distributor cap on a car that happened to. Just shattered it. Craig Nearing, Nash Rambler made Calvinator refrigerator. Really? Tim Miller, be careful. Yeah, good advice, man. Like we've all been guilty, I would say. I fairly confidently say we've all been guilty of diving under a car without the right axle stands, and when it was a little bit marginal when we're in a hurry. But yeah, you just never quite know. So yeah, Tim's right. Be careful. Lower Man's Vintage Garage, have a great evening. You too, man. Thanks for the input. Thanks for the comments, questions. It's awesome. Thanks to all you guys for joining in. It's been a good night. Again, another 2 hours has flown by. Alan Shildroff, what was the piston failure affecting all Boss 302s? I don't know. Tim, I don't know what the piston failure was, but not aware of it. Tim Miller, Trans Am race carburetor. Shelley online was a real race. Okay, not sure about that one. Dave Tyree, inline auto-like carburetor. Okay, I'm going to Google that and see. I'm not familiar with it, but again, I'm learning more stuff tonight than you guys are. So, Autolite 4100 and Motorcraft 4300 carburetors, very rare. Interesting. Kiwi, I think the carb was called a Bosch Ram. Okay, there you go. Definitely learned something. I was thinking that was typoed wrong or something like that. I didn't think that was a possibility, but clearly it is. All right. Okay. Driveway of Misfits, a quality chat tonight, folks. Have a good rest of your week. Next week's topic will be ballpoint versus fountain pens. Be ready to discuss. Oh, too funny. All right, guys. Well, thanks again. Thanks for all your input. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for being here with me on the live. And, have a good coming week. Get out there, work on your cars. Have some fun this weekend. And come back and tell me all about it next Tuesday. All right, Don's Manufactory, late arrival and it's over. Yeah, mate, sorry. We're all just saying our see you laters. And you just have to rewind it to the start and do the old delayed broadcast thing. Raymond Cable, he's late too. Driveway of Misfits at Kiwi Mars, your love for Billy Idol. There you go. Kiwi Mars, what did Mr. Okay, I missed that. Kiwi Mars Rail, what did Mr. Kiwi say? He's brave when I'm at the gym. Yes, that's right. I was sharing Mari's love of Billy Idol. That's right. All right, guys. Hey, have a good one. Thanks again, and take it easy. Look after each other, and don't buy cheap. All right. See you guys.